Lisa here. Welcome back to my channel and welcome back to Tarot Memoirs. Today we are going to be talking about the nines. So before I dive into the nines, just a quick recap on what Tarot Memoirs is all about. This is a series on my channel where I share with you some highlighted little excerpts from my favorite tarot books. We're going to be working with Kitchen Table Tarot by Melissa Sonova and Untold Tarot by Caitlin Matthews for more Marseille perspective. And we're going to be looking at the Centennial edition of the Rider-Waite Smith Tarot. We're also going to be looking at the Mythical Creatures Tarot, which is a beautiful pip deck, and some other decks from images from my collection. And then I'm going to share with you some personal experiences, some personal memoirs that I've had with the energy of these cards. So without further ado, let's dive right in. We're going to be starting with the wands. So wands, we begin. Shayla just walked all over my stuff. Thanks, Shayla. Brat terrier. She's like over here like very proud of herself right now. Oh good, she did not get anything else down. Okay, Eight of Wands. We're going to dive into Kitchen Table Tarot first and dive right into the eights. Now in Kitchen Table Tarot, she has arranged this book numerologically, so you actually get a little blurb at the beginning of each chunk of numbers that talks about that number. So here's what she had to say about the nines. She said that in her opinion, the nines are about burgeoning. And she said they're about maturing. Even the direst of the nines, the swords, is about awareness. Awareness isn't always comfortable. True that. When you grow up, your values change and your perceptions shift. The nines are essentially about becoming awake to the world around you and to the present moment. It's a beautiful thing. There's also a really fun section actually in Melissa Sonova's book called 9 3/4, where she explains that the nines are kind of not quite to that finished place. And the tens are kind of an excess of energy. So 9 3/4 would kind of be the perfect place to be finished, right? We would avoid the excess of the tens, but we would get past the kind of just before the final moment of the nines. So let's dive into Nine of Wands. I closed the book. Why did I do that? That was silly. Okay. The Nine of Wands. There we go. So the Nine of Wands reminds us to protect ourselves. We need time to heal, we need to reassess who we can trust, and we need to gather our resources after we've had the bejesus kicked out of us. In the shadow, or the reverse, you would say, what if you built a fort but no one is attacking you? What if your defenses never go down even though it's been years since you were last attacked? So this card inverted speaks to paranoia and being defensive. So protecting yourself when you don't need to is essentially the shadow side of the Nine of Wands. The Nine of Swords, where are we? Here we go. Anxiety and sleeplessness. Your mind is too full, your troubles seem vast and unmanageable, and you just can't put them down. So you're kind of being eaten up by your difficulties and your troubles. In the reverse, or in the shadow, we're looking at a heavier energy of depression, not sadness. Essentially, the anxiety of the Nine of Swords has turned over. The swords on the wall are falling, and there's pain and hopelessness. When we look at the Nine of Cups, here, this is my favorite card in the whole deck, by the way. I love the Nine of Cups. It's like my favorite, it's just my favorite card. Not this image of it, but just in general, the energy of the Nine of Cups is my favorite. It's my favorite. So we often call it the wishes fulfilled card, but Melissa says this card is not about being rich or having a big puffy shirt. This card is about being satisfied and having enough, and even more so, it's about being grateful for what you've got. Reversed, we're looking at shallow, greedy, and interested in king stuff. All he's got are empty cups, though. So when we're looking at the Nine of Cups in the upright, or the positive standard association, we're looking at somebody who feels very emotionally and materially fulfilled. They feel like they've got everything they need and they don't need any more. More might be fine, but it's not necessary. They feel content and comfortable and fulfilled. And that's why I love this card so much and why I use it in so much of my manifestation magic. Nine of Coins, or Nine of Pentacles. There is no insecurity. This card speaks to gratitude and confidence. It's about treating yourself as well as you treat the people you love, and it's the result of hard work and perseverance. But in the shadow, you can work too much. You can become overeager in your financial commitments and severely limit your financial success. Spot on. Let's take a look next at Marseille. So when we're looking at Marseille, We're looking at, or pip decks, I should say more specifically, because it's not always traditional. It's not always traditional Marseille that we're looking at. So we're looking at sort of a numerological meaning. So a 9 is a 5, which is conflict, and a 4, which is stability. So we have sort of an instability kind of coming up. We have a disruption again in the 9s. It could be a good disruption or it could be a bad disruption. At least that's one of the ways that I look at it numerologically. But I see 9s as sort of a buildup of powerful energy. So we've had sort of a gradual build since the 7. So we've had a 7, then we've had double stability in the 8, and in the 9, things are a little bit less certain. They could kind of go, I think, a number of different directions, but they feel like big energies. And it's also kind of that final push before the 10. That's sort of how I see it numerologically. And Caitlin Matthews' Untold Tarot, for the 9s, here's what she says. Again, this is more of a historical approach to the Marseille or to the pip decks. 9s deal with wishes, dreams, and ambitions. The attainment of certain long-desired things motivates our lives. Sometimes we have partial attainment or we just miss it entirely. 9s are markers for these extremes, which can be very successful or which crash and burn, or where ambition becomes overly grandiloquent in this mixture of withdrawn and manifest archetypes. So the 9 of Wands, traditionally traveling and holidays, exams, tests, graduation, qualifications, distance and length of time are also indicated. Being in the right place, a travel guide. Oops, there we go. 9 of Swords. Again, we have a grouping of swords that sort of got this central force happening. 9 deal, oh sorry, that was the repeating. Concentrated focus on individual success, someone who achieves best alone, the ability to envisage psychic skill, visions that sustain you. And again, I don't necessarily use these meanings. I want to share them as a different viewpoint. For me, 9s again are about that burgeoning energy, and 9 of Swords, when we're talking about an abundance of mental energy, to me this is still very Rider-Waite Smith style anxiety, fear, overthinking, all the things that kind of, it's like the 8 gone bad. It's like the 8 more so, you're even more paralyzed, you're even more fraught with upset and worry and anxiety. That's what that is to me. The 9 of Cups. Your heart's wish, your deepest desire, gratification, maturing into happy old age, generosity of heart. So here we see a little more overlap with Rider-Waite Smith. We have the stability of the 8 plus the 1, right? So we've stability brings forth something new. That's one way to look at it. Or we've got the conflict of the 5 and the stability of the 4. Either way, there's some sort of disruption to stability, right? We've either got a 5 and a 4, or we've got an 8 and a 1. We still got that disruption of stability. And that could be good. It could mean that you've got this influx of new blessings, of new wishes, kind of adding to what was already stable and solid. So it could be really positive that way. And the 9 of Coins. Boop. There we go. Someone's wishes for you. Also, people who are counting on you to respond to their needs. Physical attraction and fame. A bonus or surprise money. Maturation of a policy, equity release. Services rendered to dependents or others. So again, you have double stability of the 8 plus 1. So what have you added to that double stability? What makes it extra? What's that little bit extra doing? Sometimes it's an overabundance and it can be too much and it can be hard to kind of handle that energy because it's not stable. There's something about that energy that's in flux. That's that odd number, right? So yeah, that's how I see that. Let's take a look at some different cards from my collection and then I will share some of my own personal experiences with these energies. So we have the 9 of Wands in the Wise Dog Tarot. I love that he's sort of holding this wand and still guarding the door. Guard dogs are such a great representation of the 9 of Wands. They're really protecting us. They're looking after us. But sometimes they'll do that to their own detriment, which is interesting. They'll be less mindful of their own needs because they're so focused on being protective. The 9 of Trees or Wands in the Majestic Earth Tarot. Endurance, resilient, interlude, and defensive. And we have this tree just completely weighed down with snow. Still standing guard, like still holding its position, still managing, but it's heavy with snow. Our 9 of Wands in the Playful Heart Tarot. Here we have a creature who's on crutches. It's been through some stuff, but he's also got a medal. There we go. So doing pretty well. Even though he's a little battered, he's managing. Unfortunately, he's so busy trying to protect that he's let some of the things behind him sort of wilt. So some of these flowers are being neglected, right? Really interesting to me. And then we have the 9 of Wands in the Shadowland Tarot. This is great. I love that on the book here, oh, please focus. there's the word no. So we have boundary holding here. We have that protective energy. We have that I'm not going to stand for it energy that Melissa Sinopa was talking about you may not. You may not. I thought that was really powerful. So I love this representation. And yeah, he may be sitting down, and he's got a bandage, but he's still going to hold his ground. He's not going to let his boundaries falter. I love that. For the 9 of Swords, we have this pupper here who is literally having nightmares or sleepless nights thinking about cats. How cute is that? 9 of Clouds for the 9 of Swords in the Majestic Earth Tarot is anticipation, anxiety, forlorn, and worry. And we have this guy here who's like clinging to the edge of a cliff, and there's all this like dynamic nature energy all around him. Like this is just a very intense, fearful kind of image. How scared is this like bunny creature in the 9 of Swords? Oh my gosh. That's the Playful Heart Tarot. And I'm so not down with this image. The Shadowland Tarot is literally like all these spiders over top of this person. I would never sleep again if I even saw that in my mind's eye while I was trying to sleep. No, 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 nope, kill it with fire. Nope. All right, so let's take a look at the 9 of Cups next. If I can get my act together here. Okay, there we go. So look at how content and peaceful and happy and grateful this pupper looks in the 9 of Cups Wise Dog Tarot. The 9 of Water, this is so great. It's geysers in the Majestic Earth Tarot. And it says, overflowing, fulfilled, gratification, and wellness. Oh my God, how fantastic is that? The 9 of Cups, look at this happiness, and you get this idea of like sort of chosen family and tribe and just the emotional contentedness of having what you need there. I love that. And then I love that this whale is like, this whale kind of creature is blowing all of this stuff out of its own spout and like sort of filling its own cups. There's a lot of like self-fulfillment in this particular card. Love, 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 love that. And lastly, we have the 9 of Pentacles in the Wise Dog. Happy Panty Dog, has it all. Enough to share. We have Contented, Secure in the 9 of Stone for the Majestic Earth Tarot. Same, contented and secure, happy, abundant in the 9 of Pentacles in the Playful Heart Tarot. And this is really interesting because we're looking at more shadow here. The 9 of Pentacles, she's almost caged herself with her own abundance. There's a whole lot you can play with that image in the Shadowland Tarot. And let's talk about some of my experiences with these cards. I'll use the Rider-Waite Smith as a reference point. So everyday kind of way. The 9 of Wands often represents, to me, small acts of precious self-care. So in an everyday kind of way, it's like when I'm feeling really depleted and mentally overwhelmed, sometimes I need to take small actions to be like, enough, I've had enough, I need to take care of me now. And sometimes that's going to be, I need to go take a bath for an hour and like not talk to anybody because I need that alone time. Oh, I got my tea string in my mouth. That was not fun times. So that's the kind of ways that I feel like this shows up for me. It's like, not only is it no, but it's like no, and I'm going to take care of me. Does that make sense? In a bigger way, one of the most memorable experiences I ever had with really protecting myself or defending myself was when I moved out of my family home. Well, the 9 of Wands shows someone who is holding their ground. For me, holding my ground and protecting myself meant getting the heck out of there. And it was hard. It meant saying enough and meaning it and taking tangible action to change my circumstances. The 9 of Swords in an everyday way, this energy is whenever I get really anxious and all up in my head about stuff, it's like I can't get away. It's like the 8 of Swords has then gone to the next level. So a lot of times this is when I'm worrying about what other people are going to think of me. That's often what paralyzes me in this way, that brings me to the sleepless night level of anxiety. Oftentimes what I realize in hindsight is that I've given my power away to other people. I've allowed them to prevent me from doing what I need to do for myself. And in a big way, the memory that I wrote down was that at the time, okay, so this is, again, we're going to talk about current events because they're big and present right now, and it's definitely led to a lot of sleepless nights. So we are facing a global pandemic. At the time I'm filming this, things are very uncertain. We don't really know what direction it's going to go in my area. There's some staggering numbers in other countries. We're very nervous about it. There's a lot of fear, a lot of anxiety, and there's a lot of too much information and you don't really know which information or line of information you can follow or you can really believe. So there's a lot of trying to figure things out that's led to a lot of anxiety and a lot of actual sleeplessness. So it's really scary. And what I've noticed is that while right now in my specific area it looks like we might be okay, things change so rapidly that I have no way to know, and I am not at my best when I'm in an uncertain place, and there's so much uncertainty around this situation right now. So that is what I'm going to use as my reference point for the Nine of Swords. I'm going to bring my camera down a little bit because I feel like I'm sinking. There we go. So Nine of Cups. I love this card. In an everyday way, the Nine of Cups to me is about gratitude. It's about appreciating what and who you have in your life. It's about recognizing that you may not have it all, but you have what you need, and it's good. So a regular, just moments where your heart is just like full and you're like, oh, I'm so grateful right now. That's what the Nine of Cups is to me in an everyday way. Big and memorable. Oh yes, this is what I wrote down. My wedding and hand fasting day. That was an entire Nine of Cups day for me. It was so magical, and there were lots of little things that went awry. There were lots of little hiccups, and there were lots of interpersonal crap that was like there. But at the end of the day, not the actual day, but like at the end of when you kind of tally it all up, what I felt was immense and incredible gratitude. Not only for the fact that I was binding myself to Peggy and we had a hand fasting, it was really beautiful, it was really powerful, there was a lot of spiritual layers to it for us. Not only was there that, but there was walking a couple hundred feet to Canadian soil and getting married legally, because at that time it wasn't legal in the States. And so marrying the love of my life and having that external recognition felt like all I could ever need in my whole life. It was such a, what else could I ask for? It was so intangible but so abundant and so full of joy. And being accepted by the boys as a second mom, all of those things kind of culminated in that special day, and it was huge to me. So as I said, the Nine of Cups is my favorite card in the deck because it speaks to emotional fulfillment, the kind of happiness and joy and abundance we get not from material things, but from the experiences that literally have filled our cups until we feel like we have more than we could have ever hoped for. And that is the Nine of Cups to me. It's a beautiful, beautiful energy, and I love it. I don't see it so much as wishes fulfilled, although you could narrow it down to that. It's more than that. It's bigger than that. It's feeling absolutely full to the brim and overflowing with good stuff. Good stuff. And the Nine of Pentacles. So in an everyday way for me, the Nine of Pentacles is not so much about self-indulgence, and it's more about recognizing the privilege of not having to worry about where your next meal is going to come from. It's about recognizing that sort of subtle security that is so easy to take for granted, of knowing you're going to have a roof over your head, you're going to be able to go to the doctor if you're ill, you're going to be able to have food in the cupboard when you go to make yourself a snack. That is a level of comfort and security that a lot of us have had to work really hard to get, and some of us are still working towards or trying to attain. And so for me, the idea of feeling safe from a material perspective is very much what the Nine of Pentacles is about from a day-to-day standpoint. And sometimes it's good to pause and recognize and go, wow, I'm really lucky. Like, I'm really lucky that I don't have to think about those things, that I am secure and I am safe and I have a stable, really stable foundation. And at the same time, to recognize that there is even a little room for just a little bit, maybe, of self-indulgence. But that's not what the card is about for me. It's about recognizing that you don't have to think about the basic things to the degree that maybe somebody else might, and as a result you have a little extra material bandwidth to play with. And how lucky are you? Now for me, the moment I can think of that kind of encapsulates that energy is when Peggy and I were newly living together. We had two incomes, we were both working. I had never lived in a household with two people working full-time before, in a shared financial arrangement, right? Where we were pooling our resources, and it felt very abundant, and it felt very safe, and it felt very secure. And I appreciated that in a way that I think I might not have had I never had that experience before. I know that was a double negative, but hopefully you followed that. And that very first Christmas, we went overboard for the kids. We bought way more presents than we should have. Like, it was legit over the top, and we never did it that way again. We petered it down, and then we eventually got to a really stable place where it wasn't about the material stuff at the holidays. But that first time of being able to just go a little bit ham and a little bit cray-cray, it just felt amazing. And it was something that just felt like, how lucky are we to be in the situation where we've been able to pool our resources and do this really extravagant holiday, or what was extravagant in relation to what either one of us had experienced before. It just felt really exciting, and for me it felt extra special because I was raised in an environment where holidays and overgiving was like the one good thing, you know what I mean? Like one of the one good things we had. But as an adult, I never could do that for anybody else. I could never do that overindulgent gift giving thing because I never had the resources. So having that first Christmas just be one where we just kind of went a little bit bananas, it was a real Nine of Pentacles moment. It was like, not only do we have everything we need, but we have extra. How lucky are we? That's what the Nine of Pentacles makes me think of. So that, my friends, is the nines. And I would love, 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 love to hear your thoughts down below on any of these cards, on any of my thoughts on the nines, on how you read the nines, or on any of your personal life experiences or the ways you think these energies show up, because I love to continue the conversation after these videos go up on my channel. So please do share your thoughts down below. Remember to hit the thumbs up button. Remember to subscribe. Hit the little bell if you want to get notified when I sometimes spontaneously do go live on my channel, or just be updated whenever I put up a new video. I'm like literally sipping tea in my outro. How unpolished. But that's not what we're here for. We're not here for polished. If you're watching my channel looking for polished, you're probably in the wrong place. Just saying. Anyway, remember you can always book a reading with me over at supportivetarot.com. Thank you so much for hanging out, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!